Welcome back to Reviewing at Home with Mrs. V. All right, so we've been talking about decimals. We've been talking about value of a digit. We've been talking about the place that the number is in. We have been talking about expanded form. And now we're taking decimals to a whole new level. We are taking a number with a decimal and we're multiplying it times a power of 10. We're dividing it by a power of 10. What do I mean by a power of 10? Well, 1 10 is 10. 2 tens is 100. 3 tens is 1,000. That's what I mean by power of 10. All right, so we're going to take this original number and we're going to go through the steps to see how the decimal moves. Okay? Now, in the number 10, we have 1 0, and that gives you a clue about where the decimal, how the decimal is going to move. The operation, which is multiplication, also tells you how the decimal is going to move. So the decimal is going to have to move in order to increase the number. So we are going to get started with 231 and 9 tenths. This time we know that we are increasing the number because of the multiplication. We're increasing it by 1 place. So when we increase it by 1 place, we take the decimal and we move it 1 place to the right. That increases the number. So instead of 231 and 9 tenths, now we have, let me write that original number. Now I'm going to move this decimal over here, and instead we have, let me move the 9 a little closer, we have 2,319. So we've moved it 1 place. When we multiply, when we increase or multiply something times 10, we move the decimal 1 place. So since now you know that, when we multiply times 100, what do you think we do? 2 zeros, we have to move it 2 places. So the original number was 231 and 9 tenths. So we're going to move that decimal 2 places. So we have to have a placeholder because now the decimal is over here, and when we move it 2 places, 1, 2, we have a blank space. The decimal was right here. We have a blank space. So we have to use a placeholder, which is a 0. So now the answer is 23,190. Okay? So 2 zeros, we move the decimal 2 places, and then you have your answer. Now let's take a look at 231 and 9 tenths again. So I'm going to go ahead and write that again. This time we have 1, 2, 3 zeros. So we're going to move the decimal 3 places. 1, 2, 3. The decimal's going to go here. So what am I going to do with those 2 places that don't have a number? Well, I'm going to put placeholders. So now we have 231,900. Now, the decimal doesn't really vanish. It's just we don't have anything on the other side of the decimal. No tenths, no hundredths, no thousandths. So there's nothing to write on the other side of the decimal. Normally, when we write a number, we just go ahead and write 231,900, and we don't worry about the decimal. So here, when we were watching the decimal travel, that's why I went ahead and showed you that the decimal is still there, but it's just at the end of the number. Okay? All right, so this is what happens when we increase the number, when we multiply it by a power of 10. Now, what happens when we divide it by a power of 10? Well, let's look and see. So, if we are dividing, that operation tells me that the number is going to get smaller. So, this time, we're going to do the opposite way for the decimal to travel. Before, we went to the right in order to increase the number. This time, we're going to go to the left to make the number smaller. So I'm going to erase this up here, give me some room. And this time, I am dividing. I know the number's getting smaller. There's 1 0, so it's going to move 1 place. So 231 and 9 tenths. The decimal's moving 1 place. So I'm going to write that original number. And I'm going to move the decimal 1 place. So now it is 23 and 19 hundredths. All right? So I move the decimal to the left 1 place to make the number smaller because we're dividing it by 10. The 0 tells me how many times to move the decimal. All right, so here we are, 231 and 9 tenths divided by 100. So this time I'm going to write the original number This time I'm going to move 1, 2 places. 1, 2 places. So I'm moving the decimal 1, 2 places. So I can erase where the decimal originally was. And now I can read the number 2 and 319 thousandths. Okay? All right. What happens if we're dividing by 1,000? 1, 2, 3 places. 1, 2, 3 places. This time, the original number, we're going to move the decimal 1, 2, 3 places. It is 2,319 10,000ths. All right? So, what have we learned? We have learned when we multiply by a power of 10, the number gets larger. We have to move the decimal to the right, the number of places that the zeros tell us to move it. So the zeros are kind of our key there on how many places to move it, or how many times to move the decimal to the right. In contrast with division, we need to move the decimal to the left in order to make it smaller. So again, the zeros are going to tell us how many times to move the decimal to the left. Okay? So you have some work to do that looks just like this. However, I also want to go over a real life problem. So when would we ever use something like this? Well, I'm going to show you a real life problem that will give you an idea. Okay, so I'm going to move my whiteboard back, and we're going to take a look up here at the screen. Okay, decimals in the real world. John and his sister have been saving their allowance and holiday money for several months. John has $18.53. His sister has 10 times the amount John does. How much does John's sister have? Now, I just read that story problem to you. I should have mentioned, you need to have a piece of paper. Now, you will have to fill out this paper on Google Classroom and upload it for a 5-point grade because we're basically going to be doing this together, okay? So I need you to get a piece of paper out, and what you're going to do is you're going to transfer that information onto the Google slide that I have in Google Classroom, okay? So if you don't have a piece of paper, you can go ahead and pause this and come on back, all right? So let's get started. So John and his sister have been saving their money. So I know that John has saved $18.53. All right, so he's done pretty good, right? Well, his sister, we have to figure out how much money she saved. We don't know. But it says here that she saved 10 times that amount. Wow, she saved a lot of money. So we've got $18.53 times 10. So what does this tell us? Okay, $18.53 times 10. So I know that by the operation that the amount that she saved is much greater than, or it's greater than John's amount. So I have to figure out how much by how much. So I'm going to write down the original number, $18.53, okay? Kind of messy, sorry about that. All right, so $18.53, and I'm moving it to the right because it's getting larger. I'm moving it to the right 1 place. So I'm moving the decimal here. So when I rewrite this, it looks like this. So $185.03 of a dollar. So 3/10 is the same as 30 cents. All right? So she saved $185.30. Wow. So his sister did a lot better with saving than John did. I bet he bought some things in between. All right, so I'm going to put up another problem for you, and I want you to try this problem. You can pause the video and try this problem, and then come back and we'll check it. So let me read it for you. Jericho and her sister each make money at a garage sale. Jericho's sister only made 75 cents. Jericho made 100 times what her sister made. Wow. She must have had some pretty cool stuff in the garage sale. All right, how much did Jericho make? So what do we know? We know that Jericho's sister only made 75 cents. Not a whole lot. We know that Jericho made 100 times what her sister made. All right? So we need to figure out how much did Jericho's sister make. So go ahead and pause the video, try this, and then come back and I'll help you with the answer. All right, so are you ready to go over it? Okay, here we go. So Jericho's sister we know made 75 cents. So we can write that down, 75 cents. We know that Jericho made 100 times that amount. So I know that two things. I know that it's getting bigger. The operation tells me it's getting bigger. And I know the 2 zeros tell me by how many places it's getting bigger. So I know that I have to move the decimal 2 places. So I move the decimal 1, 2 places. So I take the 75 cents, I move the decimal 1, 2 places, then I can erase right here because the decimal now is right here. And so Jericho made $75. Ooh, it's a whole lot different than what Jericho's sister made. All right, Jericho really had some cool stuff in that yard sale. All right, so I want you to make sure that you fill out the Google slide for this and make sure you do your weekly work, which all has to do with multiplying and dividing by powers of 10 with a decimal. If you have any questions, you can always email me. All right, keep watching, keep thinking, always stay curious, and I'll see you next time.